After 8 long episodes, all 5 trial decks have finally shown up. No moment has ever been so great, and I've never believed more that Tamari was a late-minute addition because they then decided they were going to have 5 main characters. Here we are, everybody. Horny Jail has arrived. Welcome, everyone. Another episode of Overdress. I know I'm a little late than normal, but we are here. And I'm telling you all this right now. I still think the Toya stuff has been my favorite thing in Overdress thus far. However, this was really fucking good. There was a lot of character stuff in here. We actually got to see the entire card fight with all card effects being used and explained and shown effectively. And we had a lot of fun animation. Every actor got into it, and as always, I liked the score. So, let's get right on into it with where we begin. So we begin this episode with Megumi just changing into her weird steampunk video game outfit as there's something on her mind, something she's trying to figure out, something to notice. I especially like that this is represented to us by the sunglasses on the phone. That's actually a very natural way to get us into the idea of sort of what her and Donji's relationship is based on. We didn't know going into that scene that they had this sort of exchange with the glasses and the hair ornament. So when you see that, it's kind of one of those things like, oh, that's weird, that's interesting, that's unique. That's called making a character feel real. Just little things like that are just the clever ways you make characters and relationships more interesting. Just little in-jokes that only make sense to them, and it feels like we, the audience, are now starting to learn about. We then find out that Megumi is sort of trying to get Donji to, notice and remember it's happening. Donji wants to go fishing. Him and Megumi go fishing. The comedy's really on point this episode. That whole bit is funny. They come back to the thing after not catching any fish, where Tamari's like, so, did things happen? Did, horny things happen? To be revealed, Donji's like, we didn't catch a fish. Megumi's not happy. And that's the end of that scene. We then get, which is sort of the main focus of the episode, we get in the form of a flashback, Megumi, thinking back and explaining her and Donji's relationship, which, considering we understand that her and Donji's relationship is a big part of her character, and also we know right now she's thinking a lot about their relationship, I think that it made sense that she would kind of think this right now. It's just not us randomly getting an explanation for her past. And the explanation for her past, we'll talk about it. So the big thing we see, we don't know what the deal is with their parents. Maybe they're dead. Maybe they're on cray or something. God only knows. But her parents don't seem to be in the picture, and therefore her brother, who of course we met before, is now running the family business, thus showing that her and Megumi aren't as close as they used to be. And I like the way it's shown. I like that it feels very natural. There's obviously a big age gap between the two, so that's already working against them. But I like it's just them at the table, not talking, her wanting to talk, him not seeming very interested. Little just visual things that set up the scene for you and tell you what you need to know. So you believe it when she then sees how passionate her brother is when hanging out with Donji and clearly having sex in the backyard. That's what then gets her interested. That's what gets her invested more. Now, my one gripe with this whole thing is I've been noticing more and more in kind of the modern age of just kind of anime and how anime represents nerd culture and things like that. It seems to always be that if a girl is involved, she gets in because her brother is into it. We saw that with Tokoha to an extent, a little bit of Misaki, that was more Shin putting her up to it. It's been done we saw it just recently in Yu-Gi-Oh! With Aoi, or at least her brother was the focus of her character. And of course, we see it in the legendary Orimo. If y'all know what I'm talking about, y'all know there's something wrong there. But no, what? I'm just kind of getting sick of this. Why can't it just be the girl just likes it because she likes it? Why does it have to be a sibling gets her involved? Why does it still have to be that a woman's motivation for what she's doing still has to revolve around a man, even if it's not a love interest? But it's not a big deal, and I think it does work all right here. It at least works better than it works for a lot of things. But yeah, so we see that her relationship with her brother is kind of weak, and it's almost sort of like she's kind of almost using Donji as a replacement. Like, she understands why her and her brother aren't, like, on the best of terms at the moment, but she kind of still needs somebody, and Donji sort of ends up coming in and filling that role. And again, it's all just sort of shown to us. She doesn't specifically say, I'm using him as a surrogate, looking at you, Yashahime. No, she's just sort of like, and then he showed up one day. And then we make it that she sees Donji on his motorcycle. I like how Donji is played up from her perspective as being insanely cool. Like we've seen throughout the show, it's not afraid to make Donji come off as kind of like dorky and a little full of himself at times. But from the way it's presented, he's presented in this episode, from the presentation of Megumi, it is 100%, this is the coolest guy she's ever seen. And like she follows him to the motorcycle onto the, what's it called? The carnival they all hang out at, the fair, whatever. Time seems to pass very oddly in this episode. 1 minute it's the afternoon, then 2 minutes later it's like sunset, then it looks like it's the middle of the night. But we then see that when Megumi showed up, she was intimidated by everybody, and she was kind of nervous, sort of like, our boy Yu, thus, sort of like she is obviously meant to be kind of like very involved with his character, so therefore that's kind of like, oh, they're so similar, perhaps basis for how the relationship grows even further. But so then the big thing then happens, and that is Megumi bumps in and is almost killed by spotlights. Donji saves her, and in the ensuing thing, I also like just sort of like when she looks up at him, it's also sort of like that's the moment her crush kind of starts, like him being heroic like that. It makes sense, and it is also a very nice little bit. But the big thing is that her sunglasses then get broke. His sunglasses, she breaks them. He breaks her hair ornaments. And the meaning of the sunglasses is the way the two then met again was as an apology. They bought new things for each other. And then she wanted to learn about Vanguard. So he showed her and brought her in with the rest of the group and all of that good stuff. It's a very... Again, as much as I am getting annoyed by the sibling thing, I think for what is a very realistic backstory, and it also plays into Vanguard's strengths of being more character-focused. We then get to the rest of the episode, I gotta hurry up, we're running out of time here, where the big thing is that Tamari goes in to give an explanation on traffic safety. That was insanely funny. The whole bit where she's just like, your man's the problem. That's good. And then they have a card fight where, again, we get to see everything. All the card effects, all the calls, all the strategies. I really like that. I like the way the two sass each other. I like just how sort of fun and friendly it is. And then at the end of the episode, they go to have, like, food. And then, like, it's the next morning. Were they just out all night? Was that at, like, 4 o'clock in the morning? What is happening here? But then the rest of the guy shows up. Donji, of course, remembered the whole time, but wanted to surprise. I hate the surprise party trope, but whatever. And the episode ends with them going back to the restaurant. Megumi and Tamari are friends, and I totally expect Tamari will have virtually nothing to do unless it relates to Megumi for the rest of the show. The big thing about this whole thing is it very much so plays up to the individual strengths of both Vanguard as an anime as well as this show in general. Vanguard is more character-driven and more character-focused, as opposed to having like a big crazy Yu-Gi-Oh plot. God knows when Vanguard tries to have a big crazy Yu-Gi-Oh plot, it falls flat in their face. So, by making it that it's just kind of like this small little thing in their lives, Megumi feels a little awkward about something, Tamari recognizes and tries to help them, that feels much like a very natural thing that would just happen with people who hang out. The other thing it plays to, and something I like, is you have a very large group of ages going on around here. Like, Tamari and Donji are adults, and even though, yes, they obviously are very hammy, and that's sort of the joke with Tamari, the big thing is that because she's a little bit older, she can like recognize problems Megumi's having. She can sort of try and help her and deal with it in her own way. And it feels a lot more natural than in like, say, the other ones where it's just like characters are a year or two apart and they treat that like it's an eternity. Or whereas here it's just like, no, they're adults, so they will treat the kids a little differently. So yeah, all in all, I really like this episode. I like that it's character driven. I like that we get a good card fight. I like the humor. It's very fun, very entertaining, and makes me feel that we're back on track. That being said, bring back Toya. So anyways, as for the Vanguard question of the week, let's talk about them. Those sweet, sweet new heal triggers for V. I did the V video this week. I talked about how much I love V format, and I am so fucking excited for these things. My one gripe with V was I wanted effect triggers back, and they're back, and oh shit, this is so cool. Grade 3 triggers, you can search them off your grade 3 searchers. Cool, crazy effects. Like, this is really cool, and I am super fucking excited. But are you? Tell me about that in the comment section below. And as always, click to like, click subscribe, and join me for more Vanguard.